You are a piece of shit. No worse than that. Because even shit has a purpose, manure to nourish the earth. You have no worth, no value. You are a nothing, a no thing. Only a no thing preys on a vulnerable child who is unable to defend herself. Only a no thing baits a child as if she is the catch of the day. Only a no thing terrorizes a child in slow motion and strikes that child with her small eyes shut and her young body trembling. Only a no thing violates that young body and stunts the growth of her mind. Only a no thing refuses to see the correlation between your despicable actions and my undeserved consequences. You murdered my precious spirit. You taught me to dissociate. Because of you, I don't trust anybody. Not even myself. You, yes you, do you hear me, no thing? You are responsible. Do you think it's possible to break free from the ropes that bind? In other words, do you think it's possible to change the way you think and feel about how somebody wronged you in the past? My 8 years of experience as a child victims advocate, and more recently my role as the Enough Abuse campaign coordinator, has taught me so much about child sexual abuse prevention. My 45 years of experience as a survivor has taught me that the treatment is a journey that no one could have taken for me. Child sexual abuse is a universal, silent epidemic. It doesn't matter if you are rich or poor, black or white, male or female. It doesn't matter where in the world you live or whether or not you believe in God. Because child sexual abuse is one of the most underreported crimes, good, accurate information is difficult to collect. What we know comes from retrospective studies, studies that gather information from adults who report on sex abuse they experienced as children. From those reports, researchers estimate that as many as 1 in 4 women and 1 in 6 men report having been sexually abused before their 18th birthday. This means that you most likely know people in your community, in your circle of friends, and in your family who are survivors or abusers. You may not actually know this because 90% of these cases go unreported for years, perhaps decades. Nobody wants to keep a secret like this. But the fear, the shame, and the guilt prolong the silence until it becomes a rope that binds. I'd like to share a story. For my 10th birthday, my parents brought me to the circus at Madison Square Garden. I still remember seeing the elephants bound by what appeared to be an ordinary rope tied around their front leg. The rope seemed so fragile compared to the massive size and strength of the elephants. I noticed the elephants didn't test the rope. They didn't even try to escape. At the end of the show, I asked the trainer, how come the elephants don't try to break free? And he said, when they were babies, they were tied on these thick, heavy chains. And at first, they did try to break free, but they failed. And they tried again and again, and they failed again and again. And at some point, they just gave up. And the thick chains were no longer necessary, and an ordinary rope tied around their front leg was enough to keep them from breaking free. That night, I wrote about the elephants in my diary, but it wasn't until I reread the entry years later that I saw how similar we are to the elephants. There are those of us who are bound by limitations, real or imagined, by feelings of inadequacy, by fear, or by some horrible traumatic experience. And struggle as we might, those limitations continue to impede our progress until perhaps we too just give up. Any adversity, child sexual abuse is just one example, has the potential to become a rope that binds. So how do we break free? The journey to freedom is definitely individualized, but I would love to share some of my experiences with the hope that they can inspire you. When I was 10, I started to keep a diary. At the time, writing and drawing was very cathartic. In high school, I joined the track team. I discovered that running, exercise, reduced my anxiety. So did music, singing, and acting in the school play. In college, I learned the importance of having a focus. I loved studying nutrition and exercise. Years later, I would discover their important role along with meditation and spirituality and how they change brain chemistry. After college, I was lucky to have a mentor who recognized that I needed help. And he recommended talk therapy. Talk therapy, the exact opposite of keeping secrets. Breaking the silence was truly the start of my healing. I discovered that traveling helped me to adapt. For example, when I climbed Mount Kilimanjaro in Tanzania, Africa, I learned to acclimate. Our group leader told us that in order to summit, we must first return to a lower altitude to acclimate. In other words, the climb was not linear. Healing is not linear. Like the climb, very often my healing journey took me one step forward and 2 steps back. When the air got too thin, it was difficult to breathe, I learned to return to base camp, my safe place at a lower altitude. I learned the importance of having fun. I went to culinary school to learn the fine art of baking. That was fun. Do not underestimate the healing powers of a homemade rainbow cookie. I learned the importance of giving back. How many of you wish you can have a do-over? A chance to talk to your younger self. The old adage, if only I knew then what I know now. But life doesn't work that way. We are supposed to use our life experiences and our wisdom to help others. My fur children helped me to help others. Java and Bina became pet therapists, not only mine, and I became a child victims advocate. And together, we worked with abused children and their non-offending family members in a final effort to break free from my childhood trauma. I wrote a letter. I addressed it to the man. For years, my finger pointed to you whenever anything went wrong in my life. But after a long journey, I have finally discovered the truth. God gives each of us free will and lessons to learn to be responsible for our own actions. Sin is not only what one does. Sin is also what one does not do, such as not speaking out when witnessing cruelty. I am responsible for not speaking out. I am responsible for my thoughts and my feelings on the days and years that followed. You are responsible for your actions. I choose to believe you are not without a spark of light, and you can be forgiven. More important, I can be forgiven. I forgive me. Even though you did not ask for my forgiveness, I forgive you. And even though at times your voice and your actions still bother me, I forgive you. I want to be without anger, hatred, and distrust in my life. Therefore, once again, I forgive you. Forgiveness is the only way forward for me. I forgive you totally. I have learned that it takes an enormous amount of strength to let go. I choose to let go of the darkness in order to grab hold of the light. I choose to stop running away from my past. Focus on the present and believe in the future. Unlike riding the ropes that bind, where I was able to change the beginning many times, in life I had to learn to be present in the moment in order to change my ending. I invite you to change your ending. You are the author of your script. I invite you to listen to the still silent voice and ask for the help you deserve. I invite you to encourage others to break their silence in order to change the path of their journey. Is it possible to break free from the ropes that bind? Not only is it possible, it is imperative. I hope you will share this message with those still struggling. Thank you for listening.